Hey everyone, Jake here for Extreme Terrain, and in this video we're taking a look at the Flowmaster American Thunder dual side exit exhaust system with polished tips, fitting 2022 and newer Tundras. If you find that your Tundra is lacking in the exhaust department, but you don't want to go angering your neighbors or your own eardrums, this might just be the system for you. It gives you some more volume and a better overall sound without going overboard, and adds some visual interest too with the dual tips. Now volume-wise, we're going to give this one a 3 out of 5 on our loudness meter, so it is a noticeable change versus stock, but it's not overly loud. When someone mentions the name Flowmaster, I'd be willing to bet that most of us can conjure up exactly the type of exhaust note that this company is famous for, the burbly, aggressive rumble. And though the Tundra is no longer rocking a V8, you can still get some cool noise out of the pipes. Now this is very much a V6 sound since this is a V6 engine, but it's gonna be deep and burbly with this exhaust on it, and it's even got a nice rasp as you get up to the top end of the rev range. And as you heard from the clips at the beginning of the video, this does have some volume to it, though it's not quite wake the neighbors loud. This is still gonna be a big difference over stock, especially since right out of the gate, these Tundras really don't make any exhaust noise at all. But it's not gonna be too over the top where you're gonna disrupt the whole neighborhood on cold mornings. Now that said, you are gonna get quite a bit more volume inside of the cabin as well. And that sound is due in no small part to this big old muffler. Now this is a catback system, so this is gonna replace your factory muffler and resonator. Instead, in their place, you get one of Flowmaster's Delta Flow 50 series mufflers. And this is gonna give you that deep, rich tone while still keeping things in check sound-wise inside of the cabin. But roll the windows down, you're gonna get to hear that excellent growl out of the tailpipes. And the Delta Flow technology is Flowmaster's signature thing. Basically, they've got some triangular shaped baffles in there to break up the sound waves and make things come back together in such a way that it's gonna sound good and not give you a lot of drone. So again, you'll get that pleasing exhaust note without a literal headache. And the tailpipes do quite a bit to spruce up the aesthetics of your truck as well. Now instead of the single side exit, you get two here. They feature these big 3.5-inch polished slash cut tips that exit out the back. Now this is where we find something unique as well. You have two options for where you'd like the exhaust to exit. You can have them come out either on the sides behind the rear wheels or straight out the back under the bumper. And switching it up is simply a matter of changing out the last two pieces. So you'll use these guys if you want them to come straight out the back, or you can use these pieces if you want them to come out the sides and exit behind your rear wheels. So if you start with it set up one way and change your mind, just swap the pipes and the tips over and you're ready to go. Now the dual side exit option is great if you're towing or hauling a lot, as it's going to keep the hot exhaust pipes and gases away from whatever it is you've got behind you. Or you can get that classic dual exhaust look and have them come straight out underneath the bumper. It's nice to have the option to change it up, and it's not something we see very often. And since you are adding that additional pipe on the passenger side too, it is worth mentioning that this kit comes with everything you need to make that happen, and it's a bolt-on installation that will keep your spare tire in place as well, but we'll talk more about that momentarily. Construction here is all 2.5-inch diameter mandrel bent 409 grade stainless steel, so you get smooth exhaust flow and some decent protection against rust and corrosion. The tips that we were just talking about are of course 3.5 inches in diameter. They are polished to a really nice shine, and these are made from T304 grade stainless with a dual wall construction. So everything here should have pretty good resistance to rust and corrosion, even if you live somewhere where they get a lot of salt or moisture. Pricing for this setup will come in at about $1,300, and while that's not exactly what I'd call a drop in the bucket, it does make this one of the more affordable catbacks for this gen of Tundra. You're getting good quality materials here and the ability to change things up style-wise, so for that flexibility, if you want value and you still want a good quality catback, this is going to be a great choice for you. Installation gets a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you about 2 hours to complete. Now this is again going to be a bolt-on system, and everything you need to get this done is included in the kit, so you don't have to modify anything on the truck itself. You may just want to spend a little extra time deciding how you want those pipes to exit. But while you think it over, let's head on out to the install bay and we'll show you how to get this one done.
The tools you'll need for this project are a 1/2-inch drive impact gun or a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, a 3/8 drive impact gun, a 3/8 drive ratchet, a long 3/8 drive extension, a 10mm socket, a 14mm socket, preferably swivel, a 1/2-inch drive 15mm socket, a couple of 1/2-inch drive extensions or one long extension, a swivel joint, a 13mm wrench, a 15mm wrench, a clean cloth, some rubbing alcohol, exhaust hanger removal tool, some anti-seize, and a flexible magnet. Hi everyone, today we're installing an exhaust on our Tundra, but first, let's watch a short video on how to uninstall the stock exhaust.
All right guys, for the first step of the uninstall, we're gonna grab a 14mm socket, a swivel socket, and an extension, and we're gonna remove these 2 nuts. Next, we'll grab a hanger removal tool. We're gonna remove this hanger out of the isolator. Now we can let this hang. We're gonna go up to our middle isolator and we're gonna remove that over there. Now I'm gonna have one hand holding on to the exhaust and the other to remove this isolator. Once that's popped out of place, we can slide our tube out of the studs. And we're gonna snake this out over the axle. And now we can snake our pipe over our axle. Just gonna snake it out. Now we can move on to the front part of the pipe. So now I have my 14mm socket, swivel socket, and extension, and we're gonna remove these 2 bolts out of the flange. Now we're gonna move over to the other side and do that same thing. Next, we'll be removing these 2 hangers. I have my pull jack to hold up the exhaust. So now I have my exhaust hanger removal. We're gonna remove these hangers. Now we have one more in the back, and then once that's done, our exhaust will be removed. Now using that same tool, we're gonna remove our last hanger. Make sure you hold up the end of the exhaust. Now I'm going to lower down my pull jack. Move it out of the way. Now we can remove
All right, before we get started with the actual install, there's a couple things I want to discuss first. Mainly, it's these extension pipes that come with the exhaust. You may or may not need them, or you may need to modify them depending on your cab and bed configuration. So, if you have a double cab with an 8-foot bed, you will not have to do any modifications to these extension pipes at all, but you will be using both of them, one on each side. If you have a crew cab with a 6.5-foot bed, you must cut 6 7/8 inches off of each pipe from the exhaust, from the outlet side of the pipe. If you have a double cab with a 6.5-foot bed or a crew cab with a 5.5-foot bed, which is what our truck is, then these pipes will not be used at all. So just a heads up to take care of this before you actually start your install so that everything goes smoothly. All right, first thing we're going to do is install our flange pipe for our driver's side first. And the way that you can tell the difference between the driver's side and the passenger side is the driver's side is a much more straighter pipe than the passenger side. So when you go to install this, you're also going to want to make sure that this right here, this little bend here, is towards the bottom and not facing up. So let's go ahead and get this installed. And we're going to be reusing our original hardware to secure this to the flange. Now we use our 14 millimeter with our extension to secure the other side. Now we can install our passenger side pipe reusing the original hardware. Now before we actually install our muffler, one thing I want to point out is you're going to need to take your clamps apart, take the nut, the washer, and the spacer off, and then use the little anti-seize compound. It doesn't take a whole lot, and just put some on the threads of your bolt on the clamp. It is recommended that you do this on all of the clamps in your set. That way when you put it together, you're not going to damage the threads. Now we're going to slide 2 clamps onto the inlet side of our muffler, and you'll notice the inlet side of the muffler because it's the same end that we have our exhaust hangers on. So we're going to go ahead and install 2 of the clamps. Now I like to install mine with the studs opposite each other, so they'll be on the outside. That way it gives us plenty of clearance when we get this installed. Now that we've got our clamps on, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and hang our muffler on the isolators that are pre-installed on the vehicle, and then we'll slide our pipes to the inside, and we're not going to tighten them up just yet. We'll wait till we get it all assembled, and then we can do our final adjustments and alignments and go ahead and tighten it up then. All right, now we'll install our hangers into our factory isolators and then our flange pipes into the muffler. All right, next thing we're going to do is slide a couple of the clamps over the ends of our muffler. Next thing we're going to do is install our passenger side over the axle pipe, and we're just going to slide this over the axle, and then we're going to install our hanger into the isolator, and then we'll install the other end of the pipe into the muffler. Now we'll do the same thing with our driver's side. It's going to go right alongside and underneath the passenger side over the axle pipe. All right, since our truck doesn't come with a normal dual exhaust system, we're going to need to install a new hanger isolator on this passenger side to handle the extra exhaust pipe. So fortunately, the kit does come with this. Unfortunately, it's a little tedious in order to get this thing installed, because what we're gonna have to do is remove a plastic plug on the side rail of the passenger side here, right behind the rear tire, and feed a bolt through this square hole right here. Now, obviously, you're not gonna be able to get your hand in there to be able to put that, so we're gonna show you one way to feed this bolt through there so that we can connect our isolator. The first thing is remove this plastic plug right here, and it's right at the back of the rear wheel. All right, now, obviously, we're gonna have to feed this bolt through the hole that we just removed the plug from and insert it into this bottom hole at the bottom of the rail. So what we've done is attached a magnet to a piece of wire and put a piece of tape with the flat washer on the bolt itself. So we'll go ahead and attach the bolt to the magnet, and we'll feed it through this hole here. And then down through the bottom of our rail. All right, now we can go ahead and slide our clamp over the expanded end of our tailpipe here. And then we're also going to go ahead and install our isolator on our hanger for the bolt that we just installed. Now, when you install this, you want to make sure that the flat part of the bracket is facing up and the holes are also facing towards the outside of the truck. So we'll go ahead and slide that onto our hanger. Now we can go ahead and install our pipe. All right, now we're going to install our flat washer, our lock washer, and our nut onto the bolt. All right, now we can slide a clamp over the expanded end of our driver's side tailpipe. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and install our hanger into the rear isolator here, and then we'll slip our tailpipe over the axle pipe. All right, now at this point, you can make a decision whether or not you want to have your exhaust exiting out the side like the stock exhaust does, or exiting out the rear. Now, if you decide to do it through the side like the stock exhaust, then you'll use one of these 90-degree bends and then the exhaust tip. And that'll go just like this here. Now, we've opted to do ours out the back, so we're gonna use a different set of pipes and our exhaust tips. All right, now we'll go ahead and slide a clamp onto our extension pipe here. And slide it over our tailpipe. Once we've got that in place, then we'll go ahead and install our exhaust tip. Now at this point, we're not going to worry about tightening everything up right just yet. We want to get the other side installed, which, by the way, you can go ahead and repeat this last process on the other side. And then once you get that all done, we'll sort of kind of line it up and then start tightening things down from the front, and then do our final adjustment after we've got everything else tightened up. All right, now that we've checked all of our clearances to make sure that there's no interference with any suspension or frame or wiring, anything like that, now we can go ahead and start tightening everything down. So the first thing we're going to do is tighten down our flange plates and our flange nuts and bolts up front on the driver and passenger side, using our 14mm and our 15mm wrench on the driver's side. All right, now we can go ahead and tighten up our inlet clamps on our muffler and our outlet clamps using our 15mm socket. Now, to tighten up these two clamps on the over the axle pipes, you may need a long extension or a couple of shorter ones and a swivel joint to be able to reach them. Otherwise, you can try and reach up there with a regular ratchet and get things tightened down. All right, now we're going to tighten down our nut and bolt for the added hanger that we added. And we're going to tighten it down using our 13mm wrench. All right, now we can do our final adjustment on the angle and the height of our tips from the rear bumper. Once you've got that all settled, we can go ahead and tighten this clamp down with our 15mm socket. Now we can tighten down the bolt on our exhaust tip using our 10mm socket. And now you can repeat this whole process for the other side. Now that we've got our system completely installed, before you fire it up, I highly recommend that you get yourself a clean cloth and some rubbing alcohol and completely wipe down the entire exhaust system, especially any polished parts. That way it'll prevent any burning in of any of the grease or dirt or oil that may have been on your hands while you were installing it. And that wraps up our review and install of the Flowmaster American Thunder dual exhaust system with polished tips with the side or rear exit for your 22 and newer Tundra. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Tundra, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.